Hello, Brittany.
Hi, hello everyone. We'll just give us like 30 seconds for people to hop on
That's okay. They'll pick it up in the replay. It's fine.
for the intro. So
Yeah.
we have this is like a global expansion this year. We have different sub brands breaking off of Wallet to Wealth, but we have this amazing new series called Take Your Power Back and real women sharing how they reclaimed their power after experiencing abuse. And this is really to bring in more of our mission with Halton Women's Place, but also we want to create kind of like a resource library because there could be women out there watching who have experienced some type of toxic relationship or any type of abuse, emotional, physical, verbal, financial. And we really just want to share other women's stories so that you can not only not feel as alone, but also find the light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes when it comes to sharing these stories, there's a lot of shame around sharing them publicly. So we're really grateful, um, with Amy coming forward and sharing on this. And we do have a Keys to the Vault coming up on June
18.
18th. 18th, and we wanted to kick off this. Amy, this kind of was inspired by you, and then a couple other story downloads that came through to me around how to like build this movement even more. But Amy recently, I think in the past week or so, came forward around, I don't even know how to put this in words, just the most like, how do you betray someone's trust to that extent? This awful situation she's gone through, and she's now started. I didn't know it happened 2 years, or it's been 2 years now. But her really, going public and deciding to um, fight, fight back. So, this is our first episode. Amy's gonna tell us how she's taking her power back after being conned out of several hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're going to be also bringing this back to Keys to the Vault and working with people that you trust and licensed professionals. So, with that being said, we will kick it off. I'll let someone else kind of hop on.
I'm going to jump in first because I just want to backfill for Amy. So this happened 2 years ago. A trusted friend of Amy convinced her to transfer $320,000 over from her personal bank account to his personal bank account. So there is a transaction record of what happened. Amy was manipulated and threatened. So in the first year, she didn't tell anybody because she was so full of shame. And what makes me feel part of it is that 2 years ago, Amy, when she sold her house, asked me if I would invest the money for her. And I was thinking that, well, it's a short-term investment because I knew what Amy wanted to do with that money. She wanted to buy a property where she could have a resort for people. And I'll let Amy explain what her business idea was, which he's stolen it because he's stolen her money. And at the time, and I feel really badly because I was thinking that this is a short-term investment. And with the changes in the interest rates, it was quite possible that I would have made Amy lose some money. She might have lost 2%, she might have lost 3%. But I didn't sorry, I've got a kid crying in the background. Push the button. So I didn't jump in there, and this guy swiped her money. And it's really important, ladies, don't share this information when you've got cash, right? Because there's vultures out there that will try to get it. And what's really interesting is that for women, we don't trust when it comes about our money. I mean, we are super not trusting about it. And then suddenly we become this massive target where these people actually get our money from us, even though we don't trust. And so he had all the words, all the right sayings, and how he threatened her not to say anything. It's kind of like a child abuse thing, but but in her situation, it was money. If you do this, if you tell I'm going to do this, if you're going to do this. So he threatened her And so Amy didn't want to tell anybody, and she told me a year ago, but I kept her confidence by not sharing the information because she felt really ashamed. But it's one of the reasons why Amy and I started the Keys to the Vault, because we wanted to show women how they could build unshakable wealth and not have stuff like this happen. And this is a common event. Stop buying second mortgages. Please, if somebody cannot qualify at the bank to get all the money, why on God's planet are you going to come up with the second part of the money that they can't qualify for? Oh, you're going to get 13%. Yeah, right. You're going to get nothing. You're going to get nada because the money disappears. This guy is not licensed. So there's no governing body that we can report him to. If he was a licensed mortgage broker, it's an easy pick up the phone, da 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 da. The guy is handled, but he's not. He has no licenses, and he is manipulating not only her but other people. So Amy, there is our introduction.
I never thought I would have to be introduced that way. Graphic designer extraordinaire, color person, I'll take it. But this one is a hard pill to swallow. I just want to say that the amount of money that I transferred to him was 259,000. The 320 is principal and interest. So along the way, he kept saying to me, what do you care? Like, you're going to get this much interest. You're going to get this much interest. As long as I've got your money, you won't spend it. And I'm like, who does he think he is? Like, is he my dad? Like, my dad doesn't even do that. And so he was just buying time. By last summer, he was saying, I don't know why you're upset. If you're going to get 320,000 out of this deal, and I'm going to go after these people. And, I want to say that, yes, Whitney and I did the wallet or did the Keys to the Vault. And every week we ask women who's had money stolen. And usually there's anywhere from 15 to 20 people, women in the room, and at least 5 put their hand up every week. And so, that was on my mind, hearing Whitney every week, every month talk about, what you should do and all that stuff. It just made me feel worse and worse, because I'm like, here I am helping this financial woman, and I'm listening to this every week about the proper way to do things. Sorry, every month. And I wasn't able to do it because I had done this, and the shame was unbelievable, like unbelievable. I feel that he did target me. I was really excited about the retreat center. Brian and I sold the house. We wanted to create this retreat center. We wanted people to come for spiritual experiences, for whatever. And also, Brian's son is autistic. And there's not a lot of programs out in the world after a child reaches 24. There's school programs, and then there's after school programs, like after high school programs, but there's nothing to kind of keep them in the workforce. So we wanted to create a position for him and then expand that. So Don was really interested in helping us with that. He's like, oh, my daughter works with special needs kids, and I'm so backing you on this. And so I had posted on Facebook, like, we've listed our house, and kind of telling them it's coming up, and we closed the house, and it's so amazing. And he started to kind of come into my world a little more often. And, this is so great, and I want to help you. And I've helped my niece, and I've helped his wife's friends, and I want to help you. I want to build your wealth. And he kept talking about how cash is king, and how he kept a ton of money in his safety deposit box, and how he buys everything with cash. And I was like, okay, I've never been in a situation where I had enough cash to buy a Mercedes SUV for cash, So I was like, okay. And he was showing me properties, and he was talking about how he has a company in PEI. And he was saying, if you move a company to PEI, they give you government grants because they want to bring industry into the island and make it, bring tourism to PEI. And he's got government connections, and, we can get you government grants and yada, yada. Because we were looking in New Brunswick. And he was like, why New Brunswick? Come to PEI. I've got all the things set up there. And oh my God. So it was a bridge financing situation. Back in 2022, people were really paying a lot of money for houses, overpaying for houses. And when it came time to close the house, it was a friend of his. He told me a friend of his had purchased a home. The bank didn't evaluate it at the price he paid. So now he was a difference of 200,000 and he needed bridge financing to get to the closing. And he had another house for sale that would be closing in 30 days and I would get my money back. And he's like, I only do safe deals. I never do anything risky. This is safe. And because, you've never done this before, I'm going to personally guarantee your loan. I'm going to personally guarantee this. I'm going to work in the middle. I'm going to help you out. And, if anything goes sideways, Amy, you don't have to worry. I got you. I'm going to back this deal personally. And so he's prepped me. He's prepped me for, I keep cash in my safety deposit box. He prepped me for this feeling safe and secure with him, that he would support me through this, it was all legal. Everything was going to be done with lawyers' papers. I would know all parties involved, no problems. And when I gave him but it was quite urgent. He's like, if you want to do this deal, it's kind of like a time sensitive thing and we need to get this going and yada, yada. So I met him in a public place. And this is in retrospect, I'm going, oh my God, could he be this slimy? While I was chatting with him in the food court at Upper Canada Mall in Newmarket, this older gentleman came up to us and he said, are you Don Constable? I remember when you were a counselor in Aurora. Is that you? And Don was like, oh, yes, yes. And I remember you, Mr. So-and-so. And the guy was like, oh, you remember me? And now I'm thinking, maybe he shot that guy $100 and just said, come with me and show up and build my street cred in front of this girl I'm about to take 50 grand from. And so that was kind of like, would he really do that? But these guys are so slimy and so just dirty. And I would not put it past him that he actually brought this gentleman from Aurora to say this and just kind of, because I was like, wow, you wouldn't remember his name? He remembers you? Like, this is crazy. So I gave him a bank draft, like a certified check for the first amount. And then I transferred to his bank account the second amount. And he's still chatting with me and he's still telling me, I'm looking for properties. I'm going to help you out. Like there's one in Prince Edward Island I'm looking at. And so the 30 days came and he had been in contact with me the whole time, but I had not received any paperwork. He told me it was being transferred the moment like I was doing this, transferring the money, but it never came. And I kept asking him where it was. And he's like, oh, I had it at dinner the other night and I forgot to give it to you. And then, oh, I'll email it to you. And I kept asking him and he's like, don't worry, the lawyer's getting the paperwork ready. It's a bit more complicated, but I've got you. It's all okay. Everything he was saying in retrospect, hindsight, all of it was just red flag, red flag, red flag. And I get that now. And there was a bit of nervousness, but only about the amount of money, not that he wouldn't pay me back, not that this deal was not happening or that it didn't even exist. And what I found out in recent days since I posted this post was that he was putting an offer in on a house at the moment that we were doing this. It wasn't even a house we all know about. It was a totally separate house. And then that deal fell through. And then he wound up in someone's basement apartment and never paid him rent. And then he wound up like just the story is gross. And the more I held on to it, the more Brian and I were getting into arguments about it, the more he was getting upset about it, the more our relationship was suffering for it. I never told my mom or my parents or anyone until last summer when I was like, holy shit, this guy's never he's just stringing me along. And so then I told Whitney and I told my mom and I told my best friend, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And so the police, I did take this to the police. They told me, if you can keep them in contact, if you can keep chatting with them, this is the best bet, because if we open any sort of investigation, that shuts off your ability to do a civil case. And they were encouraging me to go civil on this. But at the time, it was like, I had talked to a lawyer and it was like going to be a $50,000 retainer. And it was just like, what the heck? And his wife had stepped in and said, I'll take care of this, Amy. I will sell my house if I have to. And then she strung me on for months. And so basically last Sunday when I posted this, I had come to the realization, the sick realization, that the money was gone. And if he had done it to me, he's done it to other people, and I cannot have him do this to anybody else. And so I put it up, and immediately I had people coming out of the woodwork telling me what happened to them.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to bring this fellow to justice. And this is the thing. This is the skilled form of abuse. How these guys do it through sexual abuse, they do it through financial abuse, they do it through any type of abuse. They've got all the words to make it so that you don't report, you don't tell, you don't
Oh
share.
my gosh, Whitney, he
Yeah,
was.
and I just got to tell you one thing, okay? Money laundering. This guy is working in a like you're talking about cash and safety deposit boxes. Okay, so number one, you're not allowed to keep money in a safety deposit box. That is not allowed.
Really?
Nope. So this guy is in more trouble because this is money laundering. So outside of him ripping you off, he's also laundering money. He's doing money for cash. And we have serious consequences in Canada. TD Bank just got sued $2 billion for money laundering going on under their nose that they had no idea that was going on. I'm a licensed person, and it's like a counselor. When a child reports child abuse, they have to report it. For me, as an advisor, as a multi-licensed advisor, if I see a money laundering act, I have to report that to FINTRA. Otherwise, it comes back on me. Came back on TD Bank. No. This is how serious it is. This guy is, he is skating on very thin ice, because no one knows, like you're out of the loop because you're dealing with somebody who's not licensed, right? There's no governing body taking care of this man, so he can go and do whatever he wants to do. So I hear what the police are saying about launching civil. It should be civil and criminal, but do your civil and do the criminal too. They can both be done, but keep going with what you're doing. Just to share with people,
Amy, I just have a quick question, and it might be just because I want to understand, but I figure if I don't get it, maybe viewers might want to understand as well. So I understand, you had mentioned like those red flags, and now in retrospect, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, they were all there, like the urgency, but around like not signing the contract. But my biggest question is why can't the police, like you did a wire transfer, like could you just maybe explain to us like why? Because if you walk into a store and you steal something and then the store owner calls the police, like, so how come they can't
Yeah,
immediately off the bat like help you, just for our viewers and me?
that's a great question, and one that I was wondering as well. I went to them with a complaint, essentially, about an individual who took money from me. And they had said it's very difficult to prove fraud. They have to prove that he took the money with the intention of doing something else. And so then it became my word against his word, is what they were saying. Like, you're telling me this, we could call him and he would tell me something different. And then they just wanted to give me the best advice about getting my money back as quickly as possible. And to them, it was either a civil case or it was keep them in communication, keep them talking, keep them going. Don't, so that was kind of even a little disheartening because now I've got to be nice to the guy who just took all my money, and I've got to be nice to his wife. And that was really frustrating. So a couple months after I went to the police called me back and said, we've had a second complaint about Don Constable. And so they said he had, there was a gentleman from Cambodia, not Aurora, like way across the world, who invested with Don $250,000 into his business, and he hasn't heard from Don and he can't get hold of him anymore. And so they voluntarily asked Don to come in, which he did. And apparently him and his lawyer showed enough paperwork to prove to the police that this was not a fraudulent act. It was a genuine business, and that this man just invested in something that just didn't work out. And they included, him and his lawyer included in their description $50,000 of my money.
Gee.
And I tried to tell the police I never invested in his business. I never gave him money for this thing that he was doing. It was all sort of personal between him and I. And he told me he was going to use it for bridge financing for a friend. However, it wasn't for that. And so to me, that's fraud. He told me one story and it was for something else, but it's difficult to prove. And there's like forensic accounting and there's manpower and there's all this stuff. And so they said, we can't do that. However, I have given people the email address of the police officer that I was dealing with, the detective in the fraud department, because the more people who email, even if it was for the business investment, is better, because they're still waiting for their money that they invested 7 years ago, 8 years ago into his business. And so I don't know exactly what the police, what he told the police about the business, but if he told them enough, like let's say the business is over, right? It's shut down. And he's still stringing these other few people along that I know about. If there's more, I haven't heard them, but there's at least 7 that invested in his company. Then isn't that fraud? Like he's still stringing them along, even though the company doesn't exist anymore, and saying, I'll get you your interest and your principal back, and don't worry, and stringing them along. So I've had, yeah.
Two questions. So hypothetically, and again, this is like for the viewers, and again, this person was not licensed, so we know that, but hypothetically, if you had a written agreement in place, would you have had more to stand on, like in terms of the police? Is that the thing that makes it he said, she said?
That may not be the case, because first of all, it's a hokey pokey thing that he put together, but let's just say it was an actual second mortgage. Then what happens is, with a second mortgage, when a property is sold, the first amount of money goes to the first mortgage. So let's say it's a $500,000 mortgage and $350 is at the bank and $150 is with the second mortgager. The first mortgagee is the only one that needs to be paid off. So this is super common. So the second one doesn't get paid off, and that happens all the time. People are getting ripped off big time, because this is we just had this big real estate bubble, and everyone and their uncle were involved in this. But you've got common people doing stuff that's way over their head, right? He didn't give her any paperwork. He just gave her a bunch of hooey kafooey. But she does have the record of her transferring money over. And Amy, once it gets into litigation, because I've done litigation before a couple times, and what happens is he'll have to say to the judge, because he'll ask, why did Amy give you this money? And he'll have to answer, right? So,
Yeah.
and he'll have some cockamamie story, I'm sure. But the thing is that it strengthened numbers, because as the more people who show up, he's not going to have enough lies to cover everything that's happened. And as far as this goes, I mean, it's what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring awareness to people that this kind of stuff has been happening since the beginning of time. Um, and what we want to do is bring awareness to people so that they don't trust their best friend. You know the little rules we were given when we were growing up. I remember, and I'm Britt. I
Don't
taught
loan out money. You taught me that. Don't ever loan money to your friends.
don't loan it out, give it away, because you are never gonna get it back, right? People that borrow money, like what the hell? If you don't have your own money, so then you go and rip it off of somebody else. I mean, it's normal to borrow money to, to buy a house, a car and stuff like that. But when you're hitting on your friends for money, like seriously, like you've got some serious issues. Don't loan out money, and don't loan out on second mortgages. I mean, and so Amy knows that now, but you get you get a judgment against him, and because Marcy's asking a question, and people put judgments against people all the time, right? So something comes up, there's a house transaction comes up, you're in a lineup for that money. You're also in a lineup on his pension, CPP, OAS. You may never get a check in one shot, but every little nickel that he gets that comes through in a legal way, and in a legal way, and then also the money laundering, that is against the law in Canada, and there's serious repercussions for people who are not.
I did not know. I thought you could pay in cash, and as long as you claimed it, then and you put it in your bank account, you claim it on your income tax, then then it's not illegal. But
Well,
again,
you're making a big broad assumption that he's put this money in his income tax.
true.
Like, how would you know what he's filing?
No,
How
I'm
would you
saying
know what
me
I'm
because
filing?
he was telling me, the principal will come back through the bank accounts, but the interest will come back in cash. And then when we were having a very heated discussion last summer, he said, what we're doing is illegal, Amy. And I said, what are you talking about? It's illegal. And he said, well, you're not allowed to do things with cash. And I said, well, I'm going to put it in my bank account and then I'm going to claim it. So how can that be illegal if I claim it? And he's like, well, if you don't claim it. And I said, why wouldn't I claim it? Like what? It's income, right? It's interest income. So anyway, that just told me he doesn't. And so he was trying to frighten me with like, oh, it's illegal in Canada, like what you just said. But if you claim it, it's not. And I had a message from a friend of mine who was sexually abused as a young girl. And she sent me a note with the parallels, because I did a video before where I couldn't even speak. I was so upset. And I was explaining what he had said, like, behave, Amy, or you won't get your money back. And don't go to the police because they won't listen to you. And if you tell anyone, Kathy and I will break up. If you tell anyone, we won't be friends anymore. I won't guarantee your loan. Why would I guarantee your loan if you're going to, tell on me, like it. And I can say it today without bawling, but it was such a horrible violation. And I'm like, I just got raped on the patio of Second Cup in Newmarket. This guy just said everything I've heard people say that have been sexually abused and what their abuser says to them. And I don't care if people think this is not a good analogy, but my person who texted me said it's an exact analogy of what her abuser said to her. Some go as far as say, I'll kill you, or I'll kill your family. Like they get really, really awful and really scare the victim. And I don't like to think of myself as a victim. I like to think of myself as a strong woman who is, in charge of her own self and wouldn't get into a situation like this. But they're good. And I know that I felt really sick for 2 years about it. Like waking up in the middle of the night with like, I can't breathe, and panic attacks, and like this whole body thing going on. And I just know now from gentlemen who have called me, political, powerful gentlemen who have called me who said, thank God you outed this asshole. People in the know have known for years that he's a snake and that we would never, ever do any dealings with him. But on the other hand, they kind of kept quiet, and I wish they didn't, because I guess in certain circles, you're not going to say, oh, he promised me something, to support me in my campaign and he never paid, or he said he would buy 50 tickets for this charity and then he would never come and pick them up. Like, he looked like the big shooter in the public forum, but never followed through. And there's been so many stories about how he does that. So it fed into my narrative of what I thought he was like he was doing things in his life to make himself look reputable and trustworthy and honorable. And then
It's like the Boy Scout leaders,
yeah,
right? They get, so he's gotten himself involved with, people at a certain level, right? And so he makes himself look a certain way so that, somebody like you could be razzle dazzled, right? It's the same as somebody who's working as a Boy Scout leader, and then you find out later is like, oh, this guy's abused 15 kids, right? Well, because that's why he's a Boy Scout leader, because that's where the candy is, right? And where's the candy with with the money? It's with women. And why? Because women we don't come from generations of strength when it comes to money, right? So Britt, you talk about intergenerational abuse. And I talk about intergenerational wealth with clients moving forward. There could be intergenerational wealth coming from generations prior, but historically it's not the women that are running the show when it comes to the bank account and making decisions and writing checks and stuff like that. And that's why
we know that stat's changing.
It's changing because money is coming over to women, but they still do not have the knowledge yet to be making the decisions. So the reason why the money is coming is a few reasons. One, just a sec. Sorry, I got a little kid here. One is because we're all demographically we're older, so we're 50 and over. So women have raised their families, they've done their thing. Now they're using their zone of genius in their business, so they're starting to generate some significant wealth. That's one. Two, there's a $3 trillion transfer of money that's coming from the generation above. So we are inheriting a lot of money. And the third thing is there's a lot of females that have been divorced. I think half of us. So there's a division of assets. And the fourth one is many women are being widowed. So there's a lot of money coming to women. And you know what? This is the candy store. This is the place to go shopping if you want to rip somebody off, right? So in order to, when you take, what is it called when you take judo? When you take, we take courses on, self-defense.
Self-defense.
We're not getting, self-defense courses. So now what we have to do is we have to take self-defense courses and knowledgeable courses in what is safe, like where are there safe places to invest money. And I've always said, don't give a check to anybody unless it's to a corporation that is running like a dealer, right? The dealer is running the assets. So you don't write. I have people writing me checks all the time, and I have to send them back and say, no, we don't launder your money for you. We don't do any transactions for you. We will build all your wealth that you want, but you need to be writing the checks to where that money is being placed, right? Do you lose it? No. The only time you lose it is when it's going to scammers.
I love the fact that you said that it's self-defense for your finances. And I think we should use that. That would have been good on the bus.
Hey, we haven't, you know what? We haven't printed that yet. Let me write that down. Self-defense for your finances. Well, we have Ladies Protect Your Money, right? Or Ladies Protect Your Wealth, I think was going on that.
Yeah. But, you know, for the amount of women in the room at your dinners every month that have been ripped off, and like for way more money than me, and multiple times. Like I'm hoping, you know, that like I'm not hoping, I'm never doing this again. I will never write a check for any amount of money to any person individually, for sure. Like that's for sure. Now, there are women out there who have been scammed like 3 times, two, 3 times, and over their lifetime. And I can't say I don't know why, because you know these people are good, and it wasn't just women this guy was after. The common denominator was he was my friend. I thought he was my friend. And so I think for men who were taking advantage of him, it's I can understand why they wouldn't talk either, because you know they've got businesses. Right now my feed is all about this, and I'm trying to run a business on the side. Like who's going to, you know, if somebody looks at it, they're like, whoa, like this is drama. I don't know if I even want to deal with this girl. But at the same time,
I think they should be dealing with you because you're brilliant, and also to help, you know, raise funds for your civil case. So we did start a GoFundMe, and so that's been really good. We had it suspended there for 48 hours when we were up in the height of it, but somebody stepped up and put that together. So we're very grateful for her.
so
So
grateful. Like so grateful for everyone who has put money into that account. I can't even tell you what it's done for my confidence to just keep moving forward. I've had people calling me saying, Amy, there's a whole bunch of people watching and they want to help you. And so don't let it slip away in the feed. Don't let it, you know, just go into the abyss. You've got to keep talking about this, because there's too many people, and I say people in general, that are being taken advantage of other people. And this, you know, I think I've become sort of the poster child for some of these influential people around that he's been dealing with in the past, and they can sort of stick it to him through me. And I will take it, because like if you need someone to be the poster child, I'll do it. Like I have nothing to lose. And you know, I was upset a couple
yeah,
days.
that's right. Because you know what, on the civil litigation, because it costs on both sides, he's taken all your money, right? So, and he'll probably go scam somebody else to pay his legal fees. So, but you know, it's getting that information out so people know, do not write checks to other people. No loaning money, no promissory notes, no nothing. Because if someone can't get their own money on their own, there's something going on with their income and their credit rating, right? Banks only loan money to people that have a good standing in life. They've got a solid income that's been going on for, you know, a regular period of time, and they've repaid their bills, so their credit rating is good. So when they don't have these things, then they go to other people. But this is at a bigger level. I mean, this is scamming, you know, all sorts of, he's using money to fund his lifestyle. So,
that's what it seems like it is. Like that's what it is. He's many people have said we don't even know what he's done for we don't even know what he does for a job. And
his job is ripping people off, and he's good at it. So, but what I don't get is why his spouse is involved with it. It reminds me of like Paul Bernardo, you know,
I
like
was just gonna say that.
you know, like the woman is along for the ride, right? Like it, you know, like it's like they get so embedded in this mess too. So
well,
I
I'm
have a
just
question.
happy. Okay, go. Question.
Okay, again, asking for myself, but maybe viewers as well. Could the bank not reverse the transfer? Is that something, have you talked to your bank about it as well? I know those are hindsight questions,
Well,
but
I think it was. I think it's been. I never even thought of that actually, because I doubt
he'd have to have money in his bank account.
he'd have to have money in the account.
I bet you 3 seconds after that dough went into the account,
It was gone.
he had a place to put it. But the other thing too is that banks don't like releasing cash. So you can't just walk into the bank and say, I need $100 or $200,000 in cash. You need to order that money. And there is a record of cash going in and out of bank accounts. I think it's $10,000. So you need to be able to, if CRA is asking you, I mean, this guy needs a full-blown audit. He needs a FinTrack
Yeah,
check.
like
Like,
he would need to
there's a
justify
paper
that
trail on
money.
this stuff everywhere. And it's just, and so after we get off, I mean, you can make that money laundering, and a comment to CRA, right? That there's, they're looking for people to look into their accounts, right? There's red flags. Scott, I mean, you have no idea. He might have red flags after him already. You can't be moving a bunch of cash without it causing red flags, right? So
Yeah. I
So
think,
to kind of, did you want to say something, Amy?
yes, I do. I want to say that I like, this isn't gonna, this is a little period of my life. Out of 56 years, it's 2 years. It could be longer, but that's okay. And I believe that success is going to be my best revenge, and just being smarter moving forward, not allowing it to stop me from, doing what I want to do. And I really just want people to know that I appreciate everything that they've done. All the comments, all the well wishes, all the love, all the energy that's coming this way is so powerful, and it's so helpful. Like when I'm waking up and feeling afraid, I just kind of go, I've got an army behind me.
yeah, you do have an army behind you, and that's what you need. And that's actually why we started the Wallet to Wealth group, so that we could all join together to help each other, because somewhere along the line, we've all been dicked over. And it's time to stop this shit. This is our time. This is our time, Amy. We've put the dues into our lives, and it's our time to flourish. And there is no more victimization. And we're going to storm this right across Canada. And that's why we've got this ambassadorship, so that we can bring awareness, bring knowledge, empower women, and just shut this off. Last thing I want to say is that this crap happens in relationships. I've had money taken from me from men, spouses, before they were spouses, whatever. We're great targets, right? Someone needs money, you know what? They just go to whoever's got it, right? And women do sit in a lot of cash. I know, because I've been dealing with people's finance for 30 years. So they do sit in cash, and it's really important to find somebody that you can trust. And I just feel horrible that I didn't embrace Amy way back when she had talked to me 2 years ago. I was afraid of making her lose 1 point because of the changes in the interest rates. Everyone was losing a little bit of money at that point in the bond market. And that's where you would have been, is in the bond market, because it was a short-term investment, because you were looking to buy another property. So the safety of where your money is, if you're going to do something, you really have to back check the person who you're talking to. They don't have any licenses. You let somebody in the front door that says they're a cop, and the next thing you know, they're raping your family, because they're not a cop. They're just trying to get in. So, yeah, so I think this is over for this dude, because we'll just keep sharing, and he'll have to get a real job, or he'll have to go. He looks like he's getting pretty old. He'll have to go on his CPP and OAS, and then you get a lien there on him, and he'll only be getting half of his check. So doesn't give you 320,000 back, but it does make it hard for him to eat every month.
Mhm.
So, to wrap it up in the name of Take Your Power Back, Amy, obviously you've talked about these, and this is obviously like new and raw and you coming forward, but practically speaking, like you've made a GoFundMe. Is there anything in hindsight, anything that you can maybe see a silver lining, or how do you feel like right now you're taking your power back?
It was an instant relief the moment that I put that post out. It was like, because I had to be nice in order to keep his phone calls coming. Because he was training me on how to do that. Oh, we have to be nice to these people so they keep calling us back. Essentially, he's saying, you better be nice to me, Amy, or I'm going to stop calling you back, right? So the moment I hit post, and the moment that I felt I don't have to hide this anymore, it was scary, but I did it. And then I started hearing other stories, like social media is it's an impactful platform. The court of public opinion can really hop on something fast, and it just goes like wildfire. And that works both ways, if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, right? So I was grateful that I had this platform and that it happened in this time so that it could spread as quickly as it did, and help people faster. Even those that unfriended me, they read it. And that door is closed to Dawn. That door, he can't go there now. And so I was happy that even if people were angry and supporting him, they know in their mind that if he ever came to them for money, they'd be like, holy shit, really? You got
Yeah.
balls to do
He,
that?
I think he deleted his Facebook account because we had people check and they're like, can't find him. So either he's blocked everybody in your feed.
But look at
or-
that, Whitney.
What's
Me.
that?
This 56-year-old kind of I'm saying nobody, but like I know I'm somebody, all right? I'm empowered. But like um just me. I've got people calling him out. I've got people calling him night and day. I've got the police on side saying it's not harassment. You can tell your story. I've got them both.
Yeah, because he called the police on Amy.
Yeah, he called the police.
He called the police on Amy. The ripoff artist called the police on Amy last week. Go figure.
Yeah, and so I'm slowly doing. I'm slowly blocking his avenues of taking money from other people. Now he can't look on Facebook and see who sold their house or who's come into money or who's lost their husband. And now they've got this estate that they can draw from, and he's got an unlimited supply of money because he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 and I'll reel you in, and what are you doing? Anyway, the
Well,
empowerment.
the other thing too is the psychology of this is that it is an addiction. You know
For
that,
him.
right?
For
It's
him.
an addiction. Yes, it's an addiction. So his hit is in the ripoff, right? So if he doesn't have anybody to rip off, it's not about him starving and not being able to eat. It's more about that he doesn't have his drug. And when an addict doesn't have their drug, they start going crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So
This is-
yes, Brittany, to answer your question, the empowerment factor that I felt from all the comments, from even the act of pushing post.
Well, it
was-
sounds like you've like to, and I don't mean to oversimplify this, but to summarize what you're saying is that you felt powerless, like there was nothing you could do. So taking your power, like this is you taking your power back because you've gone public, you're releasing the shame, and now you're taking legal action.
Yeah,
And that's, I think, really like the key takeaways, and that we want to share, or we want to leave our listeners with. We have like a lot of people watching our live right now,
Got a ton
so
on there, Amy. There's a ton. I don't know if you can see them, but I can. So yeah, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. We went way longer than we expected. I think we should continue this conversation in the spirit of trying to forewarn other people that there are scams. We didn't even get into any of the electronic scams that are going on. That's a whole different area. So we are living in a world right now of there is this an increased
hyper.
ability. It's hyper ability to be able to scam people, to scam businesses. My God, look at TD Bank, like $2 billion charge. Like it's like, and they've got all the locks, right? They've got all the knowledge, all the locks, and they were frauded themselves, right? And they bear that, right? So
that makes me feel better, because if TD Bank is getting, has that going on, then I don't feel so ashamed that I would have it going on. Like if they have all these, safety locks in place and it's still happening, like how could I even know what safety locks to have in place? That's what Keys to the Vault is about. That's we're showing people what locks you need to have in place so you can like safeguard your money. And, you know, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, and we don't want to scare people from doing your regular investing. Like ladies, keep doing your investing. Keep building your wealth. Get yourself in the know. Amy and I talk about the 4 keys, and one of them is being in the know. It's beyond reading information. It's really being able to live it and have that experience. The story is very different. Like the story that I can tell, because I had my own story too. This is not about me. This is about Amy, but I've had my own story. So my education is, sure, I have education. That's number one, but I have life experience, and Amy has a life experience too. So the thing is that once, abused or ripped off, that's when we have to shut the door right away to say, no, this is never going to happen again, that we stand up and that we use our voice and we're not silenced, right? Because we come from, I don't know, hundreds, 2,000 years of being told to shut up, right? We've all been told to shut up. And that's what he told you to do. He told you to shut up in all the beautiful ways that he figured out how to do that. And this is the story that's been going on for a few thousand years, right? So we're not shutting up.
Nope. Thanks for opening this conversation. And
Thanks for being here.
yeah, I really just want people to share it, just share this so that everybody can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to wrap. And I think we're going to carry on with this conversation at some point, because I think that we want to maybe give some updates. And so Amy does have a litigation lawyer. We are putting money, lots of people are putting money into her GoFundMe. And thank you very much. Every little penny counts. And it's not to be lining any pockets here. It's about to bring justice to the situation so that this person can't do this anymore, because they will do it. They just don't stop. Addicts just don't stop. They have to go and get help and treatment. And you can't get help and treatment until you own up to what you did. And I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, it's okay. It's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lesson that we want to help other people so that it doesn't happen to them.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we
That's all I
will
got.
have future episodes on this same theme. We're going to be bringing in other guests as well, and we'll keep Amy will keep us updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Brittany. Shut this off.